How's it going, everybody? I'm going to be showing you my Dinosaur Commander deck in this video. This is an updated version of my deck that I made maybe like a year ago. This is still on budget. Right now it's like $100, maybe $110. And it's only because Gishath is like $30, so it's almost impossible to get this to like up below 75 bucks. On the previous deck tech, there's a lot of helpful comments that made this deck a lot better, and this is kind of the newer version of that. There's one commenter in particular who kind of played this deck a lot, and he left a lot of great advice. A lot of what he said is built into this deck, and one of the things is mainly focusing on playing and maximizing Gishath and other big dinos. So in the previous deck, or my previous deck, I had a kind of a mixture of big dinos and the enraged creatures. This deck takes all that out and kind of only focuses on one thing, and that's ramp as big and fast as you can to play Gishath and hit some big dinos. And with that, I think the deck could be a lot more consistent, and you still get to play with some really cool cards. So let's start with the deck tech. Got Gishath. Obviously you need this card. Again, it's expensive, it kind of hurts, but man, it's a cool card. Get the Naya colors, trample, vigilance, haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to reveal that many cards to the top of your library, then put any number of dinos from among them onto the battlefield. Super powerful. Definitely need it in the deck, obviously. We're going to first go over some really big dinos, because I bet that's what most people want to see. We're going to first go over Galta. This card's about $4, maybe $5. It's just a big body, 12 mana, 12/12, but you can cast it for a lot less depending on how many creatures are on the field or how much power is on the field. Also, it has trample. Just another big boy. Hopefully you hit it off Gishath for free. We got the Tara Squay. I don't know how to pronounce this, to be honest. 9 mana, 10/10. If you cast it, it has haste and ward 10. Insane, but if not, it's still a big body and it's a dinosaur. Also, whenever it attacks, it gets to fight target creature the defending player controls. Next up, we got Atali, the Spinosaurus. Whenever it attacks, we get to exile the top card of each player's library, then we get to cast it for free. Really nice value. Even better than that card is the newer Itali, the Primal Conqueror. It has pretty much the same effect, except it costs 1 mana more, and it's a 7/7, but you can also transform it for 9 mana, basically 9 mana, and you pay 2 life, and you get this guy. Primal Sickness. Look how cool that Spinosaurus is. An 11/11 with trample, indestructible. It also has Toxic. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. If they have if they have 10 poison counters, they just lose the game. So, yeah, people got to be watching out for this. You can't block it with a 1/1 because you'll still lose the game. Got Galta and Mavrin. It's a 7 mana 12/12 with trample. Whenever it attacks, we get to either make a huge dinosaur creature, or we get to make a lot of little a lot of little vampire tokens. Either good because you need a bigger dinosaur, or a lot of blockers. Pretty versatile. And it's every time it attacks. Gorging Ceratops is next. It's only a 3/3 and with double strike, but whenever it attacks, all of our other creatures we control get double strike, which is super important because with Gishath, that means you get hit for even more damage, potentially revealing even more dinos and getting them for free on the field. Quartz Crasher is a 6/6 trample. Whenever one or more creatures we control do combat damage to a player, you get to create an XX dinosaur token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt. So pretty good. Again, some more token generation. Whenever Verdant Sun Avatar or another creature enters the battlefield under control, you get to gain life equal to its toughness, so kind of ensuring that later in the game, or even mid-game, we're kind of staying in the game, because, again, we're just trying to ramp as much as possible. We don't really have a lot of things to do too early in the game, so that's going to make sure when that's out, we get to gain a lot of life and make sure we have sticking power. The Primal Dawn, just one of the biggest flying creatures I've ever seen. Double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. Yeah, he's sweet. Both this guy and this turtle-looking dude, kind of a similar effect. They both have cycling, so you can discard it, and then you get to draw a card, which helps early in the game just to kind of make sure we're hitting the cards that we want. Also, whenever you cycle this card, you get to put a trample counter on a creature, so kind of cool. Just a big body too, an 11/11 if we do hit it off of Gishath. This turtle, if you cycle him 4 times, you get to put him onto the field for free. Last card, we just got a 5/5 trample haste dinosaur. Pretty generic, pretty basic, but not that bad. That's probably the card you probably cut if you got some upgrades. Going over some big boy dinosaur upgrades really quick, because I know you might be interested. Apex Altisaur. It's a 10/10, and every time it gets dealt damage, it fights creatures, and you basically just fight every creature on the field. This thing's a beast. Carnage Tyrant, one of my favorites, can't be countered, has trample and hexproof. One of the new Phyrexian dinosaurs. Look how cool he is. 7 mana 8/8, can't be countered, has trample, ward 4, haste. Also Toxic 4 just because. If you have that card, definitely add it to the deck. And then we got some other random stuff too, but Polyraptor, another great one you could potentially add. Trapjaw Tyrant. This was in my original build, but this card's still kind of expensive, and maybe it's like $5-6, but I kind of want to keep the deck under $100. Definitely a good card. You get the exile target creature every time this thing's dealt damage. And I think that's it for all the dinos. There's definitely some other cool dinos out there too, but I just didn't want to spend too much money. That wraps up all the big boy dinosaurs. Let's move on to some utility creatures. First one we got is Steve. This guy, you're just going to get a basic land. Pretty generic, pretty sweet. The Topiary Stomper, Vigilance, 4/4 for 3 mana. It can't attack or block unless you have 7 or more lands, but when it enters the battlefield, you get a free land for free. You get to put a basic land from your deck onto the battlefield. Knight of the Stampede, Dinosaur spells, cost 2 generic less to cast. Not the best, but not that bad either. Got the Huntmaster, Dinosaur spells cost 1 generic less to cast. It also has the ability to give dinosaurs haste. Thought that was pretty handy. Ranging Raptor, whenever it's dealt damage, you get to put a basic land onto the battlefield tapped. Just help us ramp a little bit. Forerunner of the Empire. I like this card a lot because it searches for any dinosaur we want, but also when a dinosaur enters the battlefield, we can deal 1 damage to each other creature. This kind of helps us get rid of potentially smaller creatures, like 1/1 tokens or anything like that. Also, when we do have some of our enraged creatures out, it can at least proc those pretty nicely. It's a May ability, so you don't have to trigger it all the time. Congeality Sunwing, creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. Going to slow down those aggro decks. Also does flying, so it could be a blocker. Thrashing Brontodon, a big body for 3 mana. And you can sacrifice it to destroy artifact or an enchantment. Tranquil Frillback, a new dinosaur, 3 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay up to 3 green. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, choose up to that many, destroy target artifact or enchantment, exile target player's graveyard, or you get to gain 3 life. Pretty versatile, pretty impactful. Register Alpha creates a token and it gives all of our dinos haste. Temple Altisaur, if a source would deal damage to a dinosaur creature we control, we prevent all that but 1. Really helpful. Make sure we don't get board wiped. Also really helps our enraged creatures. Bellowing Aegisaur, whenever this is dealt damage, we get to put a +1 counter on each other creature we control. So as this thing gets dealt damage, all of our boys grow. So that rounds out kind of just the utility creatures. We're going to move on to kind of some more not random stuff, but just kind of random stuff. Got Boros Charm. The main thing we're going to want to do here is either give all of our permanents indestructible, which kind of gives it, protection, or we're going to give something double strike, mainly Gishath. Samut's a good planeswalker because the plus ability gives something double strike. Again, maybe Gishath or preferably Gishath. Our -2 ability lets us ping some creatures so we can either, proc our enraged triggers, or we could get rid of some small other creatures on the field. If we do cast the ultimate, we get to search our library for 2 creature cards and put them onto the battlefield. So pretty sweet. I like Domri because its static ability gives everything +1. The plus ability, we get to add 1 mana to our mana pool, and the creature spells you cast this entire turn cannot be countered. I hate when I play a big creature card and it gets countered by like a 1 mana spell. It is not a feels good. So cards like this ensure that if that does happen or their opponent does have that card in their hand, at least we'll get around it. We can also use its minus ability to fight other creatures as removal. Spellbreaker, the Behemoth can't be countered, and creature spells with power 5 or more cannot be countered either. Rhythm of the Wild is an enchantment. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Again, just trying to make sure we don't get countered because it's painful. Also, 9 creatures we control have Riot. They either enter the battlefield with haste or a +1/+1 counter. Really, really good. This card is like $5, but man, it's just so good. It just does so much. For only 3 mana, kind of need in this deck. You can definitely, and you don't need it if you want to save some money, but it's a really good card. Got Primal Might. It's kind of more of a on archetype card, but I thought it was kind of cool too. Target creature gets +X/+X end of turn and fights target creature. So it kind of acts as removal, also kind of buffs some of our dinos, but just kind of on theme. Beast Within kind of destroy anything on the field, and they create a 3/3 token, just as our 1 and all, or 1 removal card that does it all. Now we're kind of transitioning to the removal cards. We've got Heaven and Earth, kind of on theme. Deals X damage to each creature with flying. Then you could Earth it. Deals X damage to each creature without flying. Just kind of cool. Cleansing Nova. Destroy all creatures, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. As we're ramping, we obviously don't want to, waste our time putting small removal cards in our deck. We want to kind of maximize the heavy hitting board wiping cards because we should have access to that mana. Like Wrath of God, destroy all creatures, can't be regenerated. Just as much removal as we can. Same thing, Star of Extinction, destroy target land. It deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Just trying to get some board resets and making sure our opponent doesn't get out of hand. Blasphemiac, same thing, costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, deals 13 damage to each creature. All around is a great card for removal. That rounds out the kind of can't be countered, remove stuff. I might want to add some more removal cards, but the problem is I think some of them are kind of expensive too, so keeping those for now. Next up, we got some cards that help us with some draw, making sure we're refilling our hands and kind of getting some card advantage. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we control a creature of power 4 or greater, get a draw card with Colossal Majesty. Shaper's Sanctuary, for only 1 mana we get an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell or an ability, we get to draw a card. It doesn't prevent necessarily the creatures from dying or being targeted, but it punishes our opponent that if they do target, we at least get some sort of value off of it. And for only 1 mana, pretty spicy. Life Crafter's Bestiary's artifact lets us scry at the beginning of our upkeep. And whenever we cast a creature spell, we get to pay 1 additional green and draw a card. It's a pretty good value. Also, that's scry. You don't underestimate that. Key to the City, we get tap this card, discard a card. Up to 1 creature can't be blocked this turn, so really good for targeting Gishath. And whenever it becomes untapped, we can pay 2 additional mana. And if we do, we get to draw a card. Garruk Pack Leader, whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. It's also just a 5 mana 4/4, which is pretty good too. You got the Sad Robot, pretty generic card. When it enters the battlefield, you get a basic land into the battlefield. And whenever it dies, draw a card. Pretty handy for the deck. Runic Armasaur card is so good. 3 mana 2/5. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you get to draw a card. This card right now is maybe like $4, but for a Dino deck, it's so good. And especially in Commander, everybody's activating non-mana abilities all the time. Ripjaw Raptor, whenever it's dealt damage, you get to draw a card. Just overall great card too. 2 mana 4/5. This card's like $3, $4 right now too. I think because it's mostly played in Pioneer, but this card was like super cheap like a few years ago, maybe even a year ago. So that rounds up the draw. We definitely got a lot of enchantments and things that help us kind of refill our hand, and I guess you can kind of get some card advantage that way, but all the good cards in that category are pretty expensive. Now, time for some ramp. We got Overgrowth. We can enchant a land, and whenever we tap it, we get to get 2 additional green. So nice. We got Explore. We get to play an additional land this turn, and we get to draw a card. This is really good early game. Obviously later in the game too, but getting that off early in the game, really sweet. Farseek lets us get a Plains, Island, Swamp, or Mountain card and put it into the battlefield tapped. Really good for hitting shock lands or other dual lands, but this obviously is a budget deck. We don't have that, but we do have some other lands that specifically say that. So we can still grab dual lands. Nature's Lore, I'm really happy this card came down in price. It was like $5, $6 like a little while ago, but now cheap, so highly recommend picking it up if you like green. Search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It doesn't say tapped. All other searchable land cards say tapped. This does not say tapped, so it kind of just costs 1 mana. That's why it's so good. Rampant Growth, you search your library for basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tapped. Nature's Lore is just a lot better. Thunderherd Migration is the same thing as Rampant Growth. It's just you got to reveal Dinosaur, pay 1 extra mana. Kind of just on theme too. Grow from the Ashes, you can search your library for, almost all these cards are just more search your library for basic land cards. They kind of do some little bit of unique things here and there, but for the most part, Grow from the Ashes. Cultivate, you get to search the library for 2 basic land cards. Same thing, Kadama's Reach is the same thing as Cultivate. It's like exactly the same card. This is Pilgrimage, you get 2 forests, but if you have 2 or more instances of sorceries, you get to search the library for 3 forests. Again, just get that land onto your hand or in your hand and on the battlefield ASAP so we can start pumping out huge dinos. This card gets us gate cards or basic lands as well. Same thing, Explosive Vegetation, just more options. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Migration Path, we got a lot of ramp. So early in the game, that is all we're really going to be doing. It's just ramping and hoping we don't die. Obviously, we have cards that keep our opponent in check, like the board wipes and just some other kind of control-y cards, but we really just want to focus our resources early in the game on getting our mana base so we can actually win the game with big dinos. Some other utility cards, Swiftfoot Boots, enchant creature as hexproof and haste. Nice to put that on Gishath just to make sure our opponent can't target it. Prismatic Lens, just some mana filtering. Same thing, Arcane Signet, some generic mana filtering. Command Sphere, same thing. Pretty just kind of standard. Every single commander, especially budget commander deck, is going to have these cards in it. Moving on to the lands, we got Rogue's Passage. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Good when we cast it on Gishath. Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion. Target creature get double strike. Again, we're maximizing Gishath's damage. Got Command Tower, pretty generic. Path of Ancestry. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And if you cast a creature spell that share a creature type with that commander, you get to scry 1. So as long as it's a dino, you get to scry 1, some additional value. Unclaimed Territory, you obviously choose Dinosaur and you get to basically use any mana to cast it as long as it's a creature. And we got some of the generic stuff. We got the Terramorphic Expanse, you got Evolving Wilds and the Landscape, just super generic, really good budget commander lands. This one too is pretty budget too. It's basically Evolving Wilds for mountain, forest, or plains, or the Naya colors. You get the gain of life too. Jungle Shrine, you got Naya colors, enters tap though, but 1 land gives you all the colors. See here we got Mountain Forest, so Farseek can search this. It does enter the battlefield tap, but also has cycling, so pretty good. Just some more dual lands that are kind of cheap. Obviously, you kind of want to replace these over time with either shock lands or some sort of fetch lands. Temple of Abandon, I like the scrying ability, it definitely does help. Temple of Plenty, same thing, Scry. You do also have Temple of Triumph, all of the temple cards. Canopy Vista, another forest plane searchable. And I'm running 9 forests, 7 mountains, and 6 plains. That ratio might be a little off because you definitely want to maximize the forest as much as possible because you have so many other cards that help search out the lands. But definitely make sure your forests are a lot higher than everything else. I am running 39 lands, which is a lot, but again, we need the lands. We need the mana. You definitely want to start the game with a lot of lands in your hand as well as some sort of ramp because that is how you're going to win the game. Let's quickly go over some other cards that I either had in the deck or was considering. Thundering Spineback, really good budget card, but I think there's just better dinosaurs out there. Ancient Imperiosaur could work in the deck, and I probably should add it, but for some reason I didn't. Definitely might try this out, actually. Carnage Tyrant, yeah, we talked about this. This guy, he's okay. This card's cool because whenever he's dealt damage, your opponent sacrifices a permanent. I might have cut in this card just for some money, get it under $100. Burning Sun Avatar, the triple red is kind of hard to get in this deck, so it's not really too reliable. This deals 1 damage to each other creature enters the battlefield. Not that impactful. We don't have too many enrage. Whenever this attacks, it does 1 damage to our creature player. This could be good, but again, we want big hitting dinosaurs. Yeah, this card's meh. Eldamri's Call, if you got the budget for it, yeah, throw this in the deck. Definitely search your library for a creature. Reveal it, put it in your hand. Polyraptor, yeah, Marauding Raptor too, pretty good, but not amazing for this deck because we're not running that much enrage stuff. We talked about that. Green Sun Zenith. Great card, search library for a green card, and you get to just put it on the battlefield. Obviously, you got to pay the mana. I like the God of Revels a lot because at the beginning of your combat, on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets +X/+X, where X is its creature's power, so you kind of just double the power of the creature. Again, so good if you do target Gishath. Rampaging Ferocidon could be pretty good in slowing down your opponent earlier in the game because they can't gain life. Heroic Intervention, yeah, if you got the budget for this card, I don't know how much it is now, but it was like 20 bucks a little while ago. Definitely put this in the deck because you need ways of kind of protecting your board. Diamond Raid could be a pretty good card too. Chaos Bringer, yeah, probably even better than this one. Wild Speaker, just some extra mana too. This card not bad. Primal Hunter. All these Planeswalkers are pretty good. I mean, they're not like incredibly amazing, I would say, but I like Planeswalkers in decks, so there's definitely a place for them if you do have them. Maybe throw them in the deck because they do work pretty well. Fraction Gust, just destroy artifacts and enchantments. Cast Out for some more removal. I guess Cast Out, Swords of Plow, Condemn, Path to Exile. I guess all kind of cheap removal spells, but the problem is, again, they're cheap, but we want to kind of focus on really the impactful board wipes. Because again, we do have the ability to ramp into larger spells. Bonfire of the Dam is a possibility, but I decided not to add it. Yeah, I don't need that, just some other lands. This card wouldn't really work. Yeah, Temple Garden, I would throw my other one. Cinderglade, Rootbound Crag, just some other good mana cards or good lands. So yeah, anyway, that is the deck for right now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know some tech down below that you think I should probably add to the deck. The ratios and things might be off. You know, I'm not an expert deck builder, but at least these gives you some cards and ideas of things you could add to your deck while also staying on a budget. As a reminder though, you can have a lot of fun playing this game without actually spending too much money. Check out some more videos on the channel. Hopefully you enjoy playing Magic the Gathering. Take care everybody. I'll see you in another video.